Hey everyone, thank you for joining me here at CannaCon. I'm here with Tom, and he's the owner of Tom's Tumbler. He's going to give us a little insight into his company and the type of products that they offer. Tom, take it away.
Yeah, so I've been growing for probably 40 years, and I would consider myself an expert in growing and post-harvest solutions and stuff. And about 10 years ago, I had this idea of this Tom's Tumble Trimmer. That was my first product. And the way that I came up with Tom's Tumble Trimmer was I was in my backyard and I saw a fishing net and I had a bunch of flour to trim, and I said, what if I just throw this flour into this fishing net and start shaking it and agitate it like that? And lo and behold, all of the trim, most of the trim came off, and the flowers were 90% trimmed, and I'm like, wow, this isn't a bad idea, but I can't sell fishing nets, and it's too labor intensive, and wasn't the greatest idea. So that's when I came up with putting the fishing nets onto 2 drums, and then starting to tumble them. And that was my first hand crank was my first machine, and it worked really well. And I started a website, started selling them, and that took off. So then I just said, wow, I gotta put motors on these. I've gotta put a dust cover on this. And then my customers got back to me and said, hey, what about this and that? So that's how I perfected it. I really listened to my customers. And so I've been doing it now for about 10 years. And now I'm branching out into other products like automatic sorting machines. I have a whole plant bucker that I've invented that's coming out shortly. We're coming out with 2-way humidity packs, pre-roll grinders. We have the Python, which is a machine that can trim up to 1,200 pounds an hour, that we've sold a bunch of those. What else do we have? We're trying to become the best company for post-harvest solutions for the future. So that's my goal, and that's where our company is.
There's a lot of trimmers out in the market. What makes Tom's Tumbler stand out the most?
Well, that's a really good question. Traditionally, trimming machines for cannabis flowers were machines that had blades, where it was a small little cylinder that you'd put your flowers through, and there were blades underneath it. So when the sugar leaves stuck out or were sucked out by very loud dust collectors, it made it really aggressive on the flowers. So you started cutting off all the structures. It started sucking out all of the trichomes and crystals, but it was the only option on the market. So I wanted to come up with a way to be more gentler on the flower, to preserve the structure of the flower. So that's when I invented the Tom's Tumbler, which is basically instead of anything being cut, like a rock tumbler, the flowers, they gently roll against each other as they're tumbling in our machines. And tumbling's really not a great word. My name was Tom, I was a gymnast, so I called it Tom's Tumble Trimmer. But it's really a rolling action and the gentle friction that does the trimming, which preserves the trichomes and crystals. Hardly any fall off if you only tumble for 3 or 4 minutes tops. And the structure of the flower actually is preserved because there's no cutting action. And so we have a lot of companies farms that we go into, and they've been using twisters or centurions and other machines for years, and they're sitting in the corner and they're back to hand trimming because it was too aggressive. And in this market, you have to have premium flowers that look hand trimmed, and that's what our machines do. If you use them correctly, the way that we tell you to use them, you can actually produce a hand trim quality and save 60 to 70% of your labor cost to do it by hand, and still have a hand trim quality in the end.
As an engineer, what new hot products are you currently working on?
Well, I've just come out with a new bucking machine. It's a whole plant bucking machine, and it's going to be on the market very shortly. So instead of having, the traditional bucking machines out there, you have to, take each branch off the plant after it's dried or wet, and you stick it through these different size holes, and then a wheel in the back pulls it through and it strips the flowers off. With my machine, it will accommodate a whole plant at one time. So it'll strip off all the flowers of the whole plant. And that's going to be on the market very shortly. And we've gotten a lot of interest in that machine. Yeah, and another machine that I've developed and is selling really well right now is our automatic sorting machine. It can sort over 450 to 500 pounds of flour to up to 5 different size flours. And there's some other machines on the market, but they're very, very expensive, 2 to 3 times as much as our automatic sorter. And our sorter has heavier duty silicone belts. It's got a digital speed control, and it can do more volume.
And while we're here, do you have any shout outs for anybody?
Yeah. Listen, I really want to thank CannaCon for having such a great show here in Oklahoma City. And of course, we've got a shout out to my buddy here, Jay from Jay's Hydro in Oklahoma City. He's got a great company, a great hydro store. So please go to Jay's Hydro and buy your hydroponic equipment there.